if any of you is less energetic and foggy-headed, it implicates you are hypoxic. This lecture tells you all the possible causes. Hypoxia means your body cells in short supply of oxygen. If you want to be energetic and clear-headed for the whole lifetime, this lecture tells you the comprehensive solution, possibly most inclusive in the world. This lecture also calls for attention on the fact that there are a couple of factors neglected in oxygen supply chain, especially clinically. This lecture not only introduces novel ways to improve oxygen delivery to the tissue cells of the body, but also focuses on hypoxia, the causes of hypoxia, the solution to hypoxia, and hypoxia as a common cause of a variety of presently prevalent chronic diseases. This lecture consists of sections as follows. At the first section, I will point out what factors in oxygen supply chain are neglected as a revelation for the reason why you are less energetic and foggy-headed. For example, the final step of circulation, which is oxygen release to the tissue cells across the body, is mostly neglected. After all, oxygen is only useful after released to tissue cells. If you ever thought of the reason why the elderly adults are generally less energetic, which implicates that their body is incapable of acquiring enough oxygen to produce enough energy. Why is that? You may say the elderly adult carries less amount of oxygen in their blood. Wrong. As long as you are anemia-free, your blood carries sufficient amount of oxygen, just like youngsters do. So why most elderly adults who are not anemia still can't acquire enough oxygen to be energetic? Obviously, the answer is that oxygen in the blood is not fully released to the tissue cells. Significant amount of oxygen still stays in the blood, unable to be released. The step of oxygen release is very vulnerable. For example, you are energetic in the morning and fatigued in the evening. That's exactly due to decreased efficiency in the step of oxygen release. However, clinically, doctors generally pay attention only to common anemia, almost totally neglecting the step of oxygen release. The elderly adults are obviously suffering from hypoxia, but there's nothing of effective treatment that helps recover better health condition by effectively eliminating their hypoxia. Think about it. Once the elderly adults regain the ability to be energetic by improving all the factors influencing oxygen supply, surely they won't be frail anymore. And are they going to still suffer from variety of any chronic diseases any longer? Just think about it. At the second section, I will elaborate on microcirculation disturbance, analyzing the cause of a formation and suggesting a solution. Microcirculation disturbance, which is almost not dealt with clinically, is due to partial obstruction in any of the arterioles. At the end of this section, we reach a conclusion that hypoxia is widely permeated in modern human life. At the sections followed thereafter, I will discuss the intrinsic connections between hypoxia and a variety of health problems or chronic diseases, such as malaise, pain symptoms, hypertension, obesity, diabetes, brain problems, kidney malfunction, liver malfunction, immunity, and insomnia. After all, oxygen is fundamental to all the biological activities of almost every cell in our body. Therefore, hypoxia must bring up various health problems across the body. As a reminder, you may have found that anyone who is energetic, which means free of hypoxia, seldom suffers from any chronic diseases. On the contrary, anyone who is less energetic, which means hypoxic, is very susceptible to falling variety of chronic diseases. Typical example is the elderly population. On the basis of my observations in the past 11 years, I propose that most of the prevalent chronic diseases are essentially caused by hypoxia. By the way, so far, most chronic diseases are unknown of any causes. That's why they are incurable. Think about it. If the cause is not traumatic, not chemical damage, not microbial agent, not genetic, then what else? Can it be the hypoxia, which coincidentally was widely neglected? Now, I will give two brief examples to show you the obvious connection between hypoxia and chronic diseases, and make more detailed discussions later in the sections followed thereafter. First, hypoxia on obesity and diabetes mellitus. Obesity and diabetes arise from the abnormalities in sugar regulation. The nature of sugar is of fuel, burning itself to provide energy to our body. Given its nature as a fuel, sugar regulation must be deeply impacted by hypoxia. That is self-evident. Absolutely no need for any evidence at all. But the reality is, to my best knowledge, in worldwide clinically, no doctors treat obesity and diabetes in light of hypoxia. Isn't that ridiculous? Second, hypoxia on pain symptoms. Under hypoxia, cells are not able to produce sufficient amount of energy, which induces elevated osmotic pressure inside the cell. High osmotic pressure drags in water molecules from the outside in, and as a result, the cells grow in volume, which is called edema. When the volume of the cell grows enough to touch the adjacent pain nerve ending, you feel the pain symptom. So most of the pain symptoms are caused by hypoxia. Thirdly, I will discuss other presently prevalent chronic diseases in light of hypoxia, of course. The subject of cancer is not covered in this lecture, but obviously maintaining free of hypoxia is one of the most effective anti-cancer means because hypoxia is a feature of all solid tumors, contributing to tumor progression and therapy resistance. Upon grasping my explanation to the close connection between hypoxia and various chronic diseases, it must occur to everyone that eliminating hypoxia is presumably the master key to most of the prevalent chronic diseases. However, neither oxygen inhalation nor hyperbaric oxygen chamber treatment can eliminate the hypoxia, since this hypoxia we are talking about is caused by poor quality of blood or microcirculation disturbance, other than oxygen content of the blood. By blood, I mean red blood cell, or RBC, in short, because RBC is responsible for close to 100% of oxygen supply to tissue cells. By the way, throughout this lecture, I will use the term RBC instead of a red blood cell for the sake of convenience. And I coined the method of eliminating hypoxia by comprehensively improving RBC quality as OTEC, standing for oxygen therapy by improving erythrocyte quality. Erythrocyte is a medical term for RBC. The efficacy of OTEC is amazing. Improvement of RBC quality brings about markedly improvement in oxygen delivery to every tissue cells across the body. Accordingly, all the abnormalities caused by hypoxia get a benefit and naturally embark on self-repairment. In my opinion, our body is intrinsically equipped with strong capabilities of self-repairment. All it needs is sufficient supply of oxygen and the whole spectrum of nutrition uptake. I accumulated tons of feedbacks from the benefited people over past 11 years. If you are interested, you may visit my website here, domain of which bears my name in Chinese pronunciation, Chengtai.net. As I said, present clinical practice almost totally neglected the step of oxygen release and microcirculation disturbance, which implicates there are numerous incidents of hypoxia untreated clinically, no matter the degree of hypoxia severity. Naturally, any abnormalities caused by these neglected types of hypoxia are impossible to be cured because the cause is neglected. That explains the reason why the incidences of chronic diseases grow in number year by year like unchallengeable deluge. The trend just doesn't cave in at all. Now, let's move on to see why the hypoxia is permeated in modern human life.